Let's get rough. Unnecessary roughness. I'm your host, Ray Flowers, for FantasyAlarm.com. First guy we want to talk about of the five we're going to talk about in Week 9 of the NFL season in 2015 is Gary Barnidge. The Browns made the decision to move on from Josh McCown to Johnny Manziel this week because McCown physically isn't capable of playing at the moment because of his myriad of injuries. Johnny Manziel, I really worry about his inclusion in the offense and what that does to Gary Barnidge. Barnidge and McCown had a great chemistry, a great connection, even with the struggles of McCown of late. Those two were still hooking up. With Manziel under center, you cannot expect Barnidge to have the same production that we have seen from him in the past. Manziel's going to be running all around. He's not going to develop plays the same way McCown does, not going to go through his progressions the same way. I'd be nervous about Barnidge, something I haven't said in about a month now with the tight end of the Browns. Marques Colston, 8 catches, 114 yards, and a touchdown last week. Good luck with that ever happening again this season. 500 yards, 7 touchdowns, obviously, for Drew Brees. Made sure everyone in the offense had success last week. Colston is old. He's lacked the ability to separate. He hasn't caught passes, hasn't produced yards, hasn't gotten the end zone. A great game for Marques Colston, but as we say all the time at Fantasy Alarm, don't chase points at any position. Next name to talk about is that of Ben Watson, the teammate of Marques Colston. I got to admit, I don't know where this is coming from. Watson's been around for more than a decade. He's never caught 70 passes. He's never had 900 yards. He's never had 7 touchdowns. He's never been an offensive force, but he has been the last 2 weeks. And again, more than a decade of NFL experience from Watson. 2 of the last 3 games, he's caught 9 passes for 125 yards and a touchdown. It's got to catch your attention. It simply has to. Is he a top 10 option at the tight end position at this point? He certainly is this week with all the buys that we're dealing with. But even moving forward, wouldn't have said it a month ago even that it had a chance to do it. But at this point, you have to consider Ben Watson as a weekly starter in fantasy football. I know. Next name is Doug Martin. 4 games, the last 4 he's played, he's averaged 21.5 carries. That's a big number in this day and age in the NFL, and that level of volume will continue to keep his production up, even if his per carry marks are low. Now, if you go to Pro Football Focus and look at his grades and everything, Doug Martin is performing very, very well this season. In fact, at an elite level. The only thing holding him back from elite level production is a substandard offensive line. They're dealing with injuries, hard to bash them completely for that, but the fact of the matter is that the reason that they are having success, the Bucs on the ground, is on Doug Martin. It's not on the offensive line and the offensive scheme they have with the Bucs. And then the final name to talk about is Heath Miller. Week 1, Heath Miller, 8 catches, 84 yards. Last week, 10 catches, 105 yards. What do those 2 weeks have in common? Ben Roethlisberger under center. In 2 of the 3 games that Big Ben has played an entire game this season, 8 catches and 84 yards are the floor for Heath Miller. He's not a dynamic option. It's almost impossible to envision him continuing to put up numbers at that level. But the return of Big Ben does point out that on any given week, Heath Miller can be a tight end 1 for that Steelers team. Don't forget that if he's out there on the waiver wire. Ray Flowers, Unnecessary Roughness is what you've been listening to. Don't forget to visit us, FantasyAlarm.com, Week 9 rankings, Week 9 updates, IDP, rookies, fallers, risers, waiver wire, all that stuff. We got you covered. FantasyAlarm.com.